"10 years is a long time. Where has the time gone? Are we getting old? Well, some of us are, but I'll tell you what's not getting old, and it's Arma 3 and its incredibly creative modding and player community. So what has Arma 3 been through in a decade? Well, we've seen more platform updates than Microsoft, changing everything from game mechanics to quality of life improvements for scripting and mission making. We've seen about 13 DLCs drop that included new mechanics on everything from new specialized weapons to helicopters, tanks, jets, and even some creator DLCs made by fellow Arma 3 community members. The most notable of which was the May 2021 launch of the SOG Prairie Fire DLC, which acts as a total conversion of Arma 3, bringing in new communication and weapon mechanics, new vehicles and weapons, and some period-specific maps based around the Vietnam War. Personally, I feel like the launch of Prairie Fire was the catalyst for the resurgence of regular multiplayer matches, at least on the official side of the house. After a decade of active gameplay, Arma 3 is still secure in its place in the top 100 games played on Steam over and over again. Not all of these players are in multiplayer, however. In fact, I'd say a vast majority of the player base spends its time on the single player side of the house, messing around in the 3D editor, making missions, compositions, or even setting scenes to create screenshots that are honestly actual works of art. I mean, look at this. These people have an immense amount of talent, some of whom I've showcased in my recent community lore videos, so go check those out if you're interested. Arma 3 is one of those simulators that is both as deep as it is wide, and this can be both a blessing and a curse. New players are often immensely overwhelmed with just how much there is to this sandbox shooter, and I'll admit, even though I was super familiar with Arma 1 and 2, Arma 3 really took me by storm when I started out, so I can only imagine how deep this ocean must seem to the uninitiated new player. But new players are still finding their way to this wonderful simulator and immersing themselves in all the incredible features Arma 3 provides. If you are a new or potential new player watching this and you want to get some solid insight into how to get started in Arma 3, I strongly recommend you head over to Knighton's channel and watch his beginner guide, where he lays out an easy path for beginner players to take that will help them learn and understand the game. I plan on making a beginner's guide myself in the coming weeks as we keep seeing an influx of new players, and I get a lot of comments on videos and questions in Discord about how to start playing. Arma 3 is almost unrecognizable 10 years later, and that is due entirely to the incredible partnership between Bohemia Interactive and this amazing modding community that has been built long before Arma 3's release. In the years before, many of these incredible teams of people started modding Arma 1 and 2. RHS goes back even before that, when Operation Flashpoint was the only Arma we knew. Unfortunately, the modding tools for Arma 3 have always been a huge point of contention for the modding community, as not only do they require you to overcome a steep learning curve, but they also aren't that intuitive, and many of the simplest things can be very tedious. However, that hasn't stopped thousands of talented creators from overcoming these challenges, and the fact that the Steam Workshop has over 100,000 mods and scenarios on it is a testament to the intelligence of this modding community. I always have to give a verbal salute to the people that dedicate their time and energy into making this incredible game better for thousands of people, myself included. Their hard work is why I started my YouTube channel in the first place. This game has always revolved around freedom of choice, and I firmly believe that is the reason behind Arma 3's longevity. Opening the editor is like sitting in front of a blank canvas. You can make something as simple or as intricate as you want. The only true limitation is your imagination. People have created some absolutely amazing things using this editor, and if Arma 4 is going to be as successful as Arma 3, then it absolutely will need to have a 3D editor of its own. I've never experienced a tool as powerful as the Eden editor in any game, and this is absolutely my gold standard for in-game editors going forward. It was one thing to be able to build a mission using the 2D editor and all of the Arma iterations prior, but that 3D jump into the actual game world to put eyes on what you're making before you hit play is an unrivaled feature in Arma 3, and one that is a must-have for me. Arma 3 is definitely not without its faults. It's quirky, and the engine does weird shit sometimes, but it has become such an accepted and ingrained characteristic of Arma 3 that, honestly, it's going to feel weird having some of these things ironed out. Jumping into Arma 4 will be like stepping into a whole new world, quite literally. Arma 4's Infusion engine is a massive leap forward from Arma 3's Real Virtuality engine, which, if we're honest, is just a hyper cracked out version of the same engine Operation Flashpoint ran on back in the day, but it's been touched up to at least 2013 standards. The engine is definitely showing its age, but we continue to see modders push the boundaries on what's possible with mods like Simple Craters that allows you to deform the terrain with explosives and artillery barrages. Being able to reshape the map itself allows for new strategies never before seen in a game like this. Like being able to knock out an entire airfield by cratering the runway, or using the craters left behind by an artillery barrage as cover and concealment to fend off an attack. The options here are truly endless, and with a little bit of independent research using the literal arsenal of online guides, you can get the basics of using triggers and waypoints to create your own simple scenarios others can enjoy. Arma 3 has done nothing but age like fine wine, and honestly, I don't see any signs of it stopping, especially knowing some of the incredible mods that are on their way to blow the community out of the fucking water. Well guys, thank you so much for joining me on this 10-year anniversary video. I know I've said a lot of these things before, but Arma 3 is such a special game that hits so many specific unique areas within the military sandbox genre of gaming. It's hard for me not to shower it with love every time. As always, I want to say a special thank you to my patrons for their loving support. Thank you all so much for helping me keep the lights on here. I'd also like to say thank you to Bohemia Interactive for 10 amazing years of supporting Arma 3 and not letting it fall to the wayside. And finally, I want to thank the immensely talented modding community for all their countless thousands of hours poured into making Arma 3 what it is today, and for keeping it alive. If you are a new player wondering if it's too late to start Arma 3, the answer is hell no. This game will never die, and will only continue to improve. Thank you all again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.